All right, now, y'all, think about this. This right here is from February 2024, February 21st, 2024. This is when J.Cole dropped his vlog series. It was like DVD inspired, where it goes back to like the early 2000s of the DVDs and the style in regards to how he edited the videos and whatnot. This is when it dropped. The reason why I'm going into this is because I'm pointing out the predictive aspect of what took place in regards to the orchestrated event between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. All that stuff was narrative based. J. Cole pulling out the beef was narrative based. And also just giving you the understanding of the predictive element. Like I said, he dropped this in February of 2024, February 21st, 2024. The Kendrick Lamar Like That whole phenomenon came out a month later, literally a month later, March 22nd. So you should ask yourself, what was Might Delete Later about if this came before the eventual response to Like That? You have to think about it like, okay, what was he going to delete later? Like in real time, as you're watching this, you're watching the series, you're just looking at it as Might Delete Later. To me, I'm looking at it as, twofold. Well, in hindsight, twofold. But in real time, I was just like, okay, maybe he's talking about the fall off because Might Delete Later, the fall off, both giving you an illusion to like going away. Might delete, might go away later, might retire, because the fall off is built around, it being his last album, him retiring and whatnot. So I was just looking at it as that, like Might Delete Later is just an allusion to him putting out the fall off, is promo for the fall off. But then he drops the mixtape Might Delete Later in the midst of the whole, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, J. Cole fiasco. He drops the mixtape. And on the song, there's a diss song to Kendrick Lamar. That's the song that he eventually would delete. Now you got to ask yourself, why would he have a working title of Might Delete Later before he would eventually delete a song ending up on the tape? That lets you know that the beef was set up. It was set up to happen. Think about it once again. Think about it real strongly if you're not catching it. Might Delete Later came out months before the Kendrick Lamar Like That phenomenon. Remember, in real time, you're just asking yourself, okay, what is Might Delete Later? What is this about? What is this, maybe it's about J. Cole and his album, Fall Off, whatever. And then you have the whole Kendrick Lamar thing that happens. This lets you know, this alone, this whole Might Delete Later, like the vlog series I'm talking about, the DVD inspired vlog series, like part 1 and part 2. Those 2 episodes let you know that there was going to be something to come from Kendrick Lamar, or something to come from, a brewing beef between Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Drake. That's why Might Delete Later came out in the midst of it, but also let you know that it was set up. It was orchestrated that way. Once again, he puts out Might Delete Later before he would eventually delete something that would be on the project called Might Delete Later. But then you got to ask yourself in real time, what is he talking about deleting? A track that would come after? You feel what I'm saying? Letting you know that it was all set up from the jump. And this is just an element of it. This is just, a part of the whole orchestrated aspect. Because remember, 2019, I think it was this comedian who said that Drake is going to be exposed in 5 years. 5 years later, 2024, this is what happens. So not only is this a predictive element to it, you have predictive element to it from years ago, as well as blind items. I covered it in around the time where they already let you know that Kendrick Lamar was going to be the one to expose Drake. He was set up to do it. He's an industry plant. That's all he is. These people are used to push certain agendas, and that agenda around that time was, exposing Drake. Kendrick Lamar, a talented artist, but he's an industry plant. Most of these celebrities, these artists, they're industry plants. They're used for certain purposes. Like when you look at Doechii, when she came out of nowhere and said that her red flag is black men, you could tell that wasn't organic. That was something that she had to say based off of her being pushed a certain way because she's an industry plant. Industry plants are used for certain agendas. And the whole, let's degrade black men agenda. Let's shit on black men agenda and empower the woman. They've been on that for years now. And she's no different. She's a feminist and she's being used to push that agenda. Like when I saw that video of her and her friend, and they sat down, they was just they was playing some type of game. I think it was something that had to do with hot wings or something like that. And she said that you could tell that it wasn't organic. And when she said that, it was a whole big thing around it. I'm like, that's just brand building. She's being pushed. She's a plant. That's all she is. Kendrick Lamar is a plant. You're a plant when you're used for certain agendas that's based in like politics to a degree. So like the whole women movement, women empowerment agenda. Kendrick Lamar is, he's on the front of that. He had a concert where he was like Godspeed for women's right, wearing the crown of thorns, and he's bleeding. I don't know if it was real blood or fake blood, but he's just trying to give you that blasphemous aura, that blasphemous aspect of him trying to be Christ and saying God speaks for women's rights. That's not something that's Christ-like. Christ would not be on that type of time. But he's an industry plant. That right there, it is a prime example of being an industry plant where you're used to push certain agendas. You feel what I'm saying? And these agendas don't really work in the favor of the so-called black man. It just doesn't. So, also the COVID thing. If you listen to Mr. Morale and a Big Stepper, that right there is a big industry plant album. That album is based in things that are contrary to what we're supposed to be holding, what we're supposed to be following. Like he pushes the tranny agenda. He pushes, taking the vaccine. Like he's telling you that he submitted. He bent. That's what he's telling you. He's an industry plant. Kendrick Lamar, J.Cole, these guys are industry plants. They're used for certain agendas. Now, I know I'm going off topic here, but I just wanted to go on that little spiel just to give you guys a certain understanding, because the stuff that you're being fed, the stuff that's being told to you is bullshit. When you look at these things and you're so captivated by your favorite celebrity, your favorite rapper, you got to put things in proper perspective. Don't never idolize these people. And they're telling you in the music, don't idolize me. Like shirking it off. That's what I think the fall off is going to be an illusion to. It's going to be an illusion to this aspect of shirking off being, the king. Like J. Cole alludes to it a lot about how he doesn't necessarily want to be lofted up as a king. And it's kind of like this aspect of Mr. Morale and Big Steppers, where it's like you shirk off this pedestal. You don't want to be put on a pedestal. Also going into, falling off in regards to retirement or death. There's many aspects to it. Or just to fall off in regards to this natural decline. Even though J. Cole, his case is a little different because he's gotten better. He's actually improved. But yeah, man, I just wanted to go more into it. But remember, Might Delete Later is a telltale, letting you know that the whole Drake Kendrick, 7-minute drill diss track, that was all set up. None of that shit was organic. And this lets you know. Remember, Might Delete Later came out in February. The Kendrick Lamar Like That stuff came out in March 22nd. And then the 7-minute drill stuff came out in April. So what does that let you know about why he had the working title of Might Delete Later before all this shit happened? It lets you know that it was set up to happen. What was he going to delete later, right? Obviously he's alluding to a song or something that he's gonna subtract or take away. On the surface level, I understand that he's talking about, it's almost like promo for the fall off, but you have to pick up on the undertone. Like even people, they even noticed, the 7-minute drill, he deleted that song. That's the song that he's talking about Might deleting later. But they never put two and two together in regards to the fact that it was all set up that way because you had this before what came later. Just the fact that you have this right here, like what you see on your screen, just the fact that you have this and this came before what would eventually come, let you know that it was already set up to happen that way. That's my overall point, and people just don't seem to pick that up. It was predictive programming, similar to Chris Paul and his State Farm commercials, where there was one commercial where the deer was in his garage tearing up his garage. That was a signifier for what was to come in 2021 when he lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. That's what that represented, is predictive programming. Let's get more into it. But before we get into it, I just wanted to correct myself. Doechii, she didn't say that black men was a red flag. She said that straight men was a red flag. Further let you know that she's just an industry plant, because that sounds like something that's inorganic. It's like especially based off of things that we understand prior to, like, that little news about Doechii. She ain't nothing but an industry plant, because you have many of those that have been pushed to go against, the heterosexual male. You have all these different agendas that's meant to be pushed against the heterosexual male, that being a gay agenda, transgender agenda, all these different fake genders that don't really make sense because there's only two genders. All that stuff goes against heterosexual male. And really, what encompasses that in regards to heterosexual male? Nature, God, understanding of, boundaries or normalcy or what's right in regards to this is just natural. You know what I mean? Like, this is the right way to go. This is construction. So they're trying to attack that. And Doechii, she's playing a part of an industry plant. She's being used to fulfill certain agendas in regards to, taking away any sort of aspect that has to do with nature, any sort of aspect that have to do with God, just in regards to, the grand scheme. Because we know that the heterosexual male represents something that's natural. You come together with a woman and you create something from that. You can't create something from a heterosexual male coming together with a heterosexual male. So that's how you know that they're trying to attack that. It's like the antithesis to that. This is why we live in a strange world that the Most High tells us not to be a part of. These things only happen in this type of world, where you have people that allow certain industry plants or celebrities to say things like that. Like, a straight man is a red flag. Like, what does that even mean? That means that you hate anything that has to do with anything that's normal or natural. A straight man? It's like, what are we talking about? Now, I get it on many different levels on the surface, just when it comes to all these different agendas that's pushed to make people think certain things. Because a lot of people have been broken down mentally by the overall agenda of, attack against the man. Like toxic masculinity. That's one of the things that works against, the heterosexual male. You have terms like that have been brought out of nowhere. Like, that wasn't a term that was around 20 years ago. These terms are new. This is how you know that it's an agenda afoot when you have terms like that. It's an agenda afoot when you have all these different genders, like non-binary and cis and all this silly shit. And Doechii. So when you factor in all those things, you understand. That's what I mean.
All right, man. Stay on. All right, the goal is to be way better 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now than I am right now, if I go every day.
When I pull up,
Y'all niggas wasted 15 years not getting on all these features these niggas. That shit was dummy. Come on, ain't nothing cold.
Bitch, on the man, we ain't got to pretend. Mama just drove out the lot in the Benz. I just walked right out the spot with two friends. Sharing is caring, they said it is cool. Said it is cool.
I feel like I'm watching this album unfold.
That's real, yeah.
It's like I'm watching y'all, and I hear it echoing through the halls.
I'm proud.
If I would have spent 5 years, 10 years in Germany, I might be like, man, yeah. How long you been? I was gone before I was 1 year old. Before I even probably.
You almost did a year? If a nigga do 600 G, like y'all get a big. You get a big kid, nigga. You get the American, you get Germany, I'm back home. If I see the funniest thing, I'm telling you. You know, motherfucker with bald hair, so I gotta represent.
Nah. You know, I gotta represent. It's crazy. I think he got real memories. He used to walk to the fucking store and get some baguettes. You know, he got real memories and friends. Real memories. You got memories. I don't have a fucking memory.
Now, it's interesting there that they were talking about Germany. Remember how I talk about the predictive programming aspect? The programming starts from the military base. most celebrities or some celebrities were actually born in a military base in Germany. J. Cole was born in Frankfurt, Germany, just like Martin Lawrence. These celebrities were put under MK Ultra programming. Yes, they were. Believe it or not, they were put under programming. When you think about the military base, that's connected with the CIA MK Ultra experiments, especially with certain soldiers who were pretty much undergoing certain experiments. And they were given certain drugs, LSD. They were controlled. And you got to think about it. The reason for MK Ultra, mind control programming and whatnot, the CIA, is just an extension of the control over these celebrities. Remember, these celebrities are bought and paid for. So it's just an emphasis on the control that they're under. They're bought and paid for. They're owned by corporations in the upper levels, man. This is why these people go crazy, because of the initial treatments, the initial programming. J. Cole is one of them. This is why he pushes certain numbers, like the number 7 and number 6. He has this whole symbolism with Simba, the Lion King, going into Horus and Heru. That's all it's about. The esoteric alignment is associated with the programming. Most of these celebrities are put under MK Ultra programming. Think about the Nazi Germany operations. Operation Paperclip. All these CIA operations, they all, or most of them, have to do with the MK Ultra subplot. It does. And J. Cole, he was put under programming. That's why he was used in the whole predictive element of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing, because of the programming. Kendrick Lamar was put under programming as well. Drake as well. Kanye West as well. Britney Spears as well. Jay-Z as well. These celebrities are bought and paid for. In order for you to be at a status of a Jay-Z or even a J. Cole or Drake, you have to compromise yourself in more ways than one, man. It says Jermaine Lamar Cole. Mind you, the twinning aspect with Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole is prominent as well. They're both twinned. Both of their middle names is Lamar. They both came in the game at the same time. Both dropped albums in 2011. One little element of the programming in regards to the twinning, it can be something small as like a album title or song title when it comes to the similarity between the two. And that's not the end all be all element, but that's just one of the elements that explains the programming. It could be a song, it could be an album, it could be a motif, a theme, a story, anything. But like, for example, Kendrick Lamar, he dropped his album in 2022, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. J. Cole dropped a year before that. They always drop within at least a year or two apart. So when Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers dropped, you had a song called N95, which goes into the mask. We know the N95 mask, the COVID mask, is gone into like pretty much taking off all these things, taking off all these proverbial masks. And the next year or the year before that, J. Cole has a song called 95 South. So you have the South aspect and the North aspect. As above, so below. Two worlds coming together. So these twinning aspects, they always bring out certain elements of the connections that people miss. Because it's twinning. Twinning goes back to the programming. But yeah, just reading on. Born January 28th, 1985, is an American rapper and record producer. Born in a military base in Germany and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Cole initially gained attention as a rapper following the release of his debut mixtape, The Come Up, in early 2007. And he was signed by Jay-Z. What are the odds of you being signed by somebody like that? A big time Luciferian in the industry, a big time, big wig. It's because that was the trajectory of his career in regards to J. Cole. That was what was supposed to happen for him. And it's not to take away his talents, but most of these celebrities that's put under programming, they're farm raised. They're raised to be what they are. They're raised to be what they're prognosticated to be, what they become eventually. They're farm raised. That's what it is. So I just wanted to get that part about him being born in Germany, because that's something that's important. He was signed to Jay-Z's Rock Nation, so on and so forth. It says J.Cole was born in Frankfurt, West Germany. His father was an African-American soldier stationed there, and his mother worked for the United States Postal Service. Shortly after his birth, his family relocated to Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I'm sure that's where the initial programming was done, because that's where it normally is done when it comes to certain assets. They undergo the programming at a military base. Same with Shaq. He was born on the military base. Martin Lawrence, Schoolboy Q. And remember some of the others I did in that video when I talked about, the military base in Germany and whatnot, with some celebrities who were born in Germany, ironically. J.Cole back home in Fayetteville. J.Cole has a connection to the military. And, part of the programming is certain trauma, like your father leaving you, one of your parents pretty much not coming back into your life after he leaves you. And that's what happened to J. Cole at a very early age. He even talked about it on the song, This 2, Track 2, which is supposed to be called The Inevitable. It's going to be called The Inevitable on the album, This 2, Track 2, aka The Inevitable, where he talks about his life in reverse and how his father comes back in his life, but in a reverse, context, just going into the understanding. And he says it clears up a hurt. So he's letting you know that, he hasn't been healed. But in a reverse order, it clears up just in regards to him, how he sees it on the song This 2, Track 2, aka The Inevitable. But man, very, very interesting stuff when it comes to these artists and these celebrities. You come to this understanding, you can put the pieces together just when it comes to your understanding from the overall outset. Okay, you have these celebrities and they're put on the pedestal. They're supposed to be set up to influence you. And you further understand that influence is being pretty much controlled by shadow puppets. Or not shadow puppets, but puppet masters, shadow puppet masters. And they're the ones actually controlling things through these celebrities. In certain aspects when it comes to agendas that they want to push, certain Luciferian things that they uphold when it comes to the motifs around it, if you pick up on it. Like J. Cole, when he came into the industry, he talked about how he sold his soul on Born Sinner, if you listen to that album. So that's what I mean in regards to how they work in the favor of the big wigs. Kendrick Lamar, he earned that Pulitzer Prize not because of Damn and how it sounded, how great it was. That's part of it, but that's the surface. He really earned that because of what he does behind the scenes, the Luciferian aspect, and what he upholds. He's a Luciferian. Come on, man. You don't earn a Pulitzer Prize as a rapper in these days. Kendrick Lamar is an anomaly because of what he was willing to partake in behind the scenes when it comes to the occult. Believe it or not. It is what it is. It's the real. I don't give y'all no bullshit. I give y'all the real. We have to understand the reality of this world. You can't just be a regular person at the status that they at. You got to put things in proper context. Ask yourself, okay, if he's there, why I'm not there? You're not there because you're probably not willing to do certain things that he's done behind the scenes on the undertone. On the surface, they just tell you, yeah, I work hard and this is where I'm at. And that has a lot to do with it. But come on, man, you got to understand the dark arts. You have to. I don't know if you guys remember, but when you was younger and you used to watch wrestling, for those of you who watched wrestling when you was younger, like the WWF, the Attitude Era, into like the Ruthless Aggression Era, you had a show called Sunday Night Heat. And Sunday Night Heat obviously is an allusion to the sun god because of the heat element, as well as Sunday going into the sun god, and the other days of the week is going into other pagan, idols and elements. Might delete later, just remind me of Sunday Night Heat, because you have this enlightenment aspect to this logo, as well as the three bars. The 3 bars represent the first trigram of the I Ching, going into the mythology of the sun god in regards to the Chinese serpent. The first 3 bars represent the sky god, aka the sun god, or the sky god Baal, Jupiter, Zeus. That's what it represents. So when you look at, the first 3 bars of the trigram, which is the I Chink, the first trigram of the I Chink. It's kind of similar to what you would see on Jay-Z's The Blueprint 3. So let's get that. Let's get the Blueprint 3. Because these people, they're taught these things. They're taught these things about the esotericism and the occult, the pagan. They're taught these things. This is why when it comes to their album titles, they communicate it. They can't just tell you, but they have to communicate it with album titles and music videos and a motif, so on and so forth. J.Cole is a Luciferian. This is why when you look at the off-season album cover, he's wearing all black, standing in front of the fire with the whole, black and yellow element with the sun and Saturn. One and the same. Even Kendrick Lamar, he says he got that fire with him, that fire within him or something like that. Representing enlightenment, representing this whole Luciferian aspect. Speaking of the sky god represents Lucifer, the Lord of Flies, aka Baal, right? Now, mind you, around this same time, 2024, with the whole Drake, Kendrick Lamar beef and whatnot, Kendrick Lamar, he does a song on his album that would come where he's talking about being reincarnated and how he's reincarnated from Lucifer, and he came down from the sky. He came down from heaven as a fallen angel. Why is he touching on these things? Because these people are Luciferians and they're taught these things, and this is around the time where these type of teachings have to be brought out in a certain surreptitious way. Kendrick Lamar has to let you know that he's a Luciferian through his music. It's just that certain dumbass people don't pick up on it. They still idolize, even though he tells you not to idolize him. J. Cole tells you about false prophets, and yet you still idolize these people. Don't idolize. J. Cole has an album called Born Sinner. The album represents sinning. That's why you got a song called Forbidden Fruit. That's why you got a song called Let Nas Down, going into idolatry. He's covering the bases when it comes to, the subject matter and the objective for certain albums. And that right there is purposeful. I'm not just saying that on some esoteric Luciferian stuff. He put Let Nas Down on Born Sinner on purpose because he understands that idolatry is sin. He was taught a lot. He knows a lot about the truth when it comes to the scriptures and whatnot, but it is what it is. They have to be taught these things. All these celebrities, they know the truth about the Bible. They know the truth about the esoteric and the pagan, especially if they're at a certain level. Some of them, they don't necessarily know, an array of these things in regards to the status that they're at. If they're at a certain level, they have to be taught these things. They get open to these things when it comes to the doors that they go through. They learn, But yeah, Might Delete Later represents the first trigram of the I Chink. Let's just get into it. The first trigram in the I Ching is Kian, representing heaven, the creative or strong action, representing the sky god. That's what it goes into. It consists of 3 solid, unbroken yang lines, symbolizing pure, active, and creative power. It signifies initiative, leadership, and the initiation of new ventures, often associated with the sun or a dragon, the sun and the serpent. It's going into the sky god. That's what it's going into, with that understanding. And when it comes to different regions of the mythology, going into Zeus or Jupiter, so on and so forth. Symbolism, it is entirely yang, indicating a strong high and immaterial force. It represents the father figure, leadership in the beginning of cycles. This is why J. Cole, he played that role in regards to the whole narrative with J. Cole and Drake and Kendrick Lamar, where he played like the mature figure. Let me step out of this because I understand where this is going. He had to do that. These fans and these people who make all these videos, they don't understand. They just go off the surface level. And it's not to demean them. Obviously, not everybody is equipped to understand the undertone, man. But I always talk about the undertone because the undertone is what's the real. The undertone is really what it is. The surface is just for certain simple-minded people to pick up on it and whatnot. And also the people that feed you the surface, they know the undertone. It's just that they have to feed you the surface. They really know why J. Cole bowed out, because they understand the behind-the-scenes aspect and the esoteric aspect. They do. That's why J. Cole wore black, white, and red when he made that apology. It was ritualistic, man. Look at the colors when these things take place. Look at, you have this whole motif with the white and the black and red, and also you have the black and the yellow. A lot of celebrities are wearing yellow hats now because they're enlighteners. They wear yellow or orange hats with black. Think about KD. KD had on an orange a yellow beanie with all black. Who wears that? What is that? Those colors are coordinated for a reason because it represents the sun and Saturn. They're teachers. That's why they wear those colors. And sometimes it's just happenstance. But for the most part, they wear those colors because of what it represents esoterically. They wear all black. It's consistent. Obviously, you guys see this theme. I know you guys see this theme of all black with these celebrities. They wear all black because they're witches. It's witchcraft. And also, they're Saturnians. That's why they wear all black. Jay-Z, he even said, I might wear black for a year straight. Why did he say that? Because he's a Saturnian. And he was going up the upper levels. And that was on, ironically, the Blueprint 3, that line. So let's get it. Let's get the Blueprint 3 cover, because I want to go into certain things that, you know, when I emphasize black, white, and red, it's for a reason, man. Let's just get into it. And also, before we get into the Blueprint 3, when you think about the Sky God, think about guys like Westside Gunn. Ironically enough, Westside Gunn is also featured on J. Cole's upcoming album, The Fall Off. He's confirmed to be featured. Westside Gunn, he goes by Fly God. Fly God is an allusion to Baal, the Lord of Flies, Beelzebub. Going into this understanding of pestilence and control and whatnot. But the Lord of Flies is just talking about the Sky God. That's what it's really talking about. Just in regards to the understanding of how you break it down and what it goes into, going back to the scriptures and the understanding of Isaiah 14 and whatnot, and how, you know, he set his tower up high. The original Luciferians, when it comes to Cush and Nimrod, just goes back to that. Lucifer, the sky god, he fell from grace, or fell from heaven. He fell from the top. Just going into the people who built that tower, the original people who rebelled against the Heavenly Father. Then you have all these people that's in this world who pretty much play on that proverbially, where they rebelled against the Heavenly Father. Some of them don't even know that they're rebelling, but that's what it is, right? But as you can see here, the Blueprint 3, with the 3 stripes, the 3 bars representing the first trigram of the I Ching, and also black, white, and red. You see, when I looked at this, you know, in 09, obviously I didn't know what I know now. I just looked at it as, oh, the Blueprint 3, but why is it not blue? Why is it red? Now I know why it's red. Obviously, because you see the black element and the white element there. And then with the red, its base is covered. Think about it. Even J.Cole, his debut album, he was wearing black, white, and red. Black, white, and red is a huge motif in the entertainment industry. It represents the sacrifice, it represents blood, and it represents purity. And it all come together, going into the black mass, or going into their god known as Baal or Pan. That's what it goes into. That's why they push the black, white, and the red. Think about it. The Blueprint. The first 2 covers for the Blueprint was blue. Why not continue on in that theme? Obviously, right? And we already know that Blueprint doesn't, you know, it doesn't associate with the color. Blueprint is just talking about like laying the foundation, or, you know, you started it. Like you was the one that set it, and people were taking after you. You set the blueprint. But the first 2 album covers were blue. And Jay-Z, he says that his favorite color is blue. Why not continue on in that theme? It's because the Blueprint 3 represented this finality. Also going into the understanding of black, white, and red, in which it represents like this status that you're at with godhood and whatnot. And also, let's not forget, when you consider the 3 stages of alchemy, which they uphold it tremendously. Like they really uphold these things. The rubedo, the albedo, and the negredo phase, in regards to the rubedo representing blood and sacrifice, and the negredo representing the black void of death. Also going into the understanding of death in and of itself, and the white representing transcendence or purity, rebirth. So this is why they push the black, white, and red so hard, because of the alchemical understanding. Alchemy, the occult, the masonry, this, you know, these are the things that they uphold. They uphold these things seriously. It's very important to them. Right, so when you think about it, you could have just had it blue, just to follow on with the consistency. And then you have, you know, your daughter, her name is Blue. You have this whole blue thing. Why not make it blue? Because the red represents something. The red represents this change in which, you know, he pretty much took on a new pace. He pretty much opened a new door for himself. You know, you have these different orders of masonry with the Rosicrucian order and other different orders when it comes to these fraternities and whatnot. You have all these different orders of occult, all these different orders of leadership in the Luciferian realm. So this was probably a time where there was a change in Jay-Z's status. This is why you have the black, white, and red, as opposed to following the theme of blue. And we already know blue represents, you know, righteousness. It represents an aspect of nature and whatnot. And red represents evil and lust and so on and so forth. So you have those as well, right? But you could have just made this blue. This is how you know that the black, white, and red, it means something. Just think about that. Like for naysayers, of course, for people who always want to go against me and say, oh, why you always talk about black, white, and red, is that? Think about it. His first 2 album covers for the Blueprint was blue. The third one is red. Why is it red? If your favorite color is blue, you got a daughter named Blue, so on and so forth. Why is it red? It's red because black, white, and red means something. That's all.